Hidden behind New York City's skyline, on a small island in the East River, stands a world few outsiders ever see. Rikers Island isn't just a jail, it's a city of steel and concrete, pulsing with chaos, corruption, and survival. From gang-controlled dorms to secret tunnels of smuggled contraband, its stories have shocked lawmakers, journalists, and even hardened criminals. This is where America's justice system shows its rawest edge. Rikers Island sprawls across 413 acres between Queens and the Bronx, linked to the mainland by a single guarded bridge. Officially opened in 1932, it was supposed to relieve overcrowding in Manhattan's jails. Instead, it evolved into a labyrinthine complex of 10 facilities housing more than 10,000 detainees on any given day. Most here are awaiting trial, not convicted, but they live under conditions harsher than many prisons. Helicopters circle, sirens echo, and the skyline glitters just beyond the razor wire, a constant reminder of freedom so close yet unreachable. Unlike state prisons, most people at Rikers haven't been convicted. They're awaiting trial, often because they can't afford bail. This creates a volatile mix of ages, backgrounds, and charges. First-time offenders bunk next to career gang members. The uncertainty of upcoming court dates, combined with overcrowding, breeds explosive tension. For many, this limbo becomes a punishment in itself. Days, weeks, or years spent behind bars without a guilty verdict. New arrivals pass through a sprawling intake center known for chaos and delays. Cells designed for a few hold dozens. Fluorescent lights never dim. People can wait 24-72 hours just to be assigned housing, surviving on cold sandwiches and no sleep. Guards shout orders. Gang recruiters size up fresh faces. Medical checks are rushed, and mental health screenings are perfunctory. This first stop sets the tone. Survival comes, before everything else. Inside housing units, gangs like the Bloods, Trinitarios, and Latin Kings mark invisible borders. Bed assignments and phone access are negotiated by force or favor. The program, a term for gang-enforced order, controls who eats, who showers, and who gets beaten. Some guards quietly cooperate to keep a fragile peace. Others are intimidated or bribed. Non-affiliated detainees live in constant fear, forced to choose between neutrality and protection. Assaults at Rikers are so common they're nearly routine. Fights break out over food, debts, or perceived disrespect. Homemade blades called shanks circulate despite searches. Even officers are not immune. Many have been slashed or ambushed. Investigations often stall due to a code of silence among both staff and detainees. In this environment, violence isn't just a threat, it's a form of communication and leverage. Despite metal detectors and bag checks, contraband flows steadily. Drugs, cell phones, and weapons slip in through corrupt staff, visitors, or drones dropping packages near fences. Entire mini-economies thrive. Cigarettes, Suboxone strips, even designer sneakers traded for protection or privileges. Each discovery triggers lockdowns, but new routes appear as quickly as old ones close. For many detainees, contraband isn't luxury, it's survival currency. Every hour on Rikers is a psychological chess match. Inmates quickly learn to read body language, tone, and alliances. A misplaced glance can trigger a fight. A whispered warning can save your life. Veteran detainees teach newcomers unspoken rules. Never sit at someone else's table. Never owe favors you can't repay, and always watch the phones. Mental health services exist on paper but are overwhelmed in practice. For many, the only therapy is a hardened shell and a constant state of alertness. This survival mindset lingers long. After release, correction officers walk a tightrope between enforcing order and avoiding retaliation. Understaffing leaves them outnumbered. Mandatory overtime frays nerves. Some develop informal truces with gang leaders to keep the peace, while others succumb to burnout or corruption. The line between guard and guarded blurs as stress, fear, and low pay create vulnerabilities. Whistleblowers describe a culture where reporting misconduct can end a career. In this atmosphere, even honest officers feel trapped inside the same walls. Most of Rikers is male, but the Rose M. Singer Center houses women. Here, detainees face a different mix of trauma, domestic violence histories, addiction, and separation from children. Reports of sexual abuse by staff have surfaced repeatedly, leading to lawsuits and oversight hearings. Yet bonds also form: informal support groups, prayer circles, and legal aid jailhouse lawyers who help others fight their cases. This overlooked corner of Rikers mirrors the same systemic neglect as the men's jails, but with added layers of vulnerability. Rikers' sprawling infirmary treats everything from stab wounds to chronic illnesses. It also doubles as a holding area for the mentally ill. Critics call it a warehouse of despair, where psychiatric meds are rationed and therapy sessions canceled for lack of staff. Suicide attempts spike in solitary cells, yet oversight remains patchy. For detainees with HIV, diabetes, or severe depression, getting consistent care can feel like winning a lottery. For some, the sick ward is both refuge and danger, a place to heal or be forgotten. Officially called punitive segregation, the box is a concrete cell barely big enough to pace. Detainees spend 23 hours a day inside, with 1 hour in a caged yard. Meals slide through a slot, lights stay on. Some are there for violence, others for minor infractions. Advocates argue it sends mental illness and fuels suicide. Officers say it's necessary for safety. Inmates describe hearing screams echo down the tier at night, a chorus of isolation and rage. Leaving the box often means returning to general population with deeper scars. Each morning before dawn, buses line up on the bridge to ferry detainees to court. Shackled at the wrists and ankles, people sit for hours in cramped chain buses crawling through New York traffic. Sometimes hearings last only minutes. Other times cases are postponed and detainees return without seeing a judge. This ritual underscores the disconnect between Rikers and the city around it. The skyline rolls past the bus windows while detainees glimpse the lives they've been torn from. Lawyers complain of clients arriving late and exhausted. Detainees describe court days as both hope and humiliation, the only time they leave the island, but never touch freedom. Inside Rikers, scarcity breeds enterprise. Commissary items, instant noodles, candy, soap, become currency. People trade snacks for protection, phone time, or favors. Hustlers run stores out of their bunks, selling stamps, legal paper, or contraband smuggled in by staff. Some detainees rent out their ID cards for extra food portions. This shadow economy mirrors the city's hustle outside, but with higher stakes. A mispaid debt can end in a beating or worse. Even officers sometimes look the other way because these micro-markets can keep the peace where official systems fail. Every weekend, a line of cars snakes toward the Rikers Island bridge. Mothers, partners, children, and friends bringing small bags of approved items. Visits are often the only tether to the outside world. After airport-style searches, families sit in crowded rooms, speaking across plastic tables under watchful guards. Some visits are joyous, others tense. Relationships strain under distance and uncertainty. Children see their parents in jumpsuits, memories etched for life. Many visitors leave feeling they've been punished too, enduring hours of travel and scrutiny for a brief glimpse of their loved one. For decades, Rikers has seen a steady toll of deaths from violence, neglect, and suicide. Investigations reveal delays in medical care, ignored pleas for help, and broken emergency protocols. Each death sparks outrage from advocates and renewed promises of reform from city officials. Yet systemic problems persist: staffing shortages, outdated facilities, and a culture of secrecy. Memorials sometimes appear on cell walls, names written in pencil, folded notes, makeshift shrines, quickly scrubbed away by cleaners. For detainees and staff alike, death in custody is both a tragedy and a warning. Rikers is subject to watchdog agencies, court monitors, and headline-grabbing reports. But oversight often moves slower than the crises inside. Consent decrees are signed, policies revised, yet conditions on the ground remain grim. Whistleblowers describe retaliation. Families of victims fight through bureaucratic fog for answers. In City Hall press conferences, officials speak of culture change, while on the island detainees still improvise weapons and guards still fear for their safety. This gap between policy and practice erodes trust and fuels the jail's notorious reputation. In 2017, New York City leaders voted to close Rikers by 2027, promising smaller borough-based jails instead. Advocates saw it as a moral victory. Opponents warned it would merely relocate problems. Construction delays, lawsuits, and political turnover have slowed progress. Meanwhile, conditions on the island worsen with understaffing and rising violence. For detainees, closure is a distant headline. For families, it's an uncertain hope. Rikers continues as a symbol of reform deferred, a physical embodiment of America's struggle with mass incarceration and pretrial detention. Release day is a double-edged sword. Some detainees walk out with charges dropped but trauma intact. Others leave with new criminal ties forged inside. Re-entry programs exist but are underfunded, and a criminal record makes housing and employment difficult. Former detainees describe nightmares, hypervigilance, and mistrust that follow them into the free world. Yet there are also stories of resilience, people who become advocates, mentors, or community organizers, determined to break the cycle. Life after Rikers is a second trial, but some turn it into redemption. Rikers Island looms just off the runway at LaGuardia Airport, hidden in plain sight. Planes lift into the sky as lives on the ground remain in limbo. For nearly a century, it has been America's most notorious jail, a place of violence, survival, and forgotten humanity. As debates rage over closure and reform, its stories demand to be told. Behind every headline is a person, a detainee awaiting trial, a guard under siege, a family crossing the bridge. The question isn't just whether Rikers will close, but whether a city, and a nation, can build something better in its place.